On Tuesday, February 10th, Immigrations and Customs Enforcement Acting Director Todd Lyons, Customs and Border Protection Commissioner Rodney and U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services Director Joseph Edlow appeared before members of the House Committee on Homeland Security. Democrats ripped apart their false narratives and called out their violations of the Constitution. We've got a lot of clips to get through from this 3-hour hearing, so let's just dive in. First off, we've got Michigan Representative Sri Thanadir asking if the DHS heads believe that they will be pardoned by Trump.
Director Lyons and Commissioner Scott, do you think President Trump will pardon you and your boss, Kristi Noem, before he leaves office, just like he has for insurrectionists and his political allies? Do you believe President Trump will pardon you? Go ahead.
I'm not going to speak on behalf of President Trump, but I'll tell you, I signed up for this job to protect America, and I'm very proud of the service that I provide, and I don't need a pardon from anybody.
Well, you better hope so. You better hope you get being pardoned, because you will be held accountable for the absolute disregard of the law your agencies have shown over the past year. Your agencies have lost the trust of the American people.
Yeah, he straight up says there, you better hope for a pardon because you will be held accountable, which was pretty much the theme of the entire hearing, at least coming from the Democrat side. For the most part, the Republicans, except for a few exceptions, they spent their entire time praising ICE and saying that they're amazing and that they've saved the world. This next clip is a bit of a longer clip, but I feel like it needs to be shown in its full context. This is Representative James Walkinshaw of Virginia reading letters from children that are held in detention centers.
Statement referenced the importance of protecting children, and I'm glad to hear your commitment to that. I want to focus on one of President Trump's mass deportation policies that the experts say harms children: child detention. In this administration, under your watch, ICE has booked nearly 4,000 children, and 1,000 of them have been held longer than the court-ordered 20-day limit. Recently, ProPublica obtained handwritten letters and drawings from children detained by ICE. These are letters from children describing what it feels like and what it does to them when the government locks them up. This is Ariana. She's 14 years old, detained for 45 days. Since I got to this center, all I feel is sadness and mostly depression. This is Mia, 7 years old. I don't want to be in this place. I want to go to my school. This is Scarlett, 17 years old. I feel very bored and overwhelmed because I am locked up. This is Gabby, 14 years old. I feel so much sadness and depression of not being able to leave. This is Maria, 9 years old. Me and Dilly am not happy. Please get me out of here. This is a 12-year-old going to the doctor, and the only thing they tell me is drink more water. The water here is what makes people sick. And this one got me, Mr. Lyons, because this is a 5-year-old, Luis Annie. My son's 5. He can't write many words, but he can communicate through drawings like this. This is a picture of Luis Annie's family. And you might be able to see that none of the faces are smiling. Child detention is not required by law. You know that. It's not the only option available, and it's not effective. We know that community-based alternatives can ensure compliance with proceedings without traumatizing these children. Yet, you continue to detain and hold children for weeks or months, depriving them of school, stability, leaving them afraid, sick, and confused. And one of the key reasons for your mass detention, including the detention of Liam and his father, is to pressure people to give up their legal opportunities and pathways to remaining in the United States. Liam's father was following the rules, following the legal process with a valid claim. Let me be clear. No child, not Liam Ramos, not Gabby, or any of these children should be used as pawns in Stephen Miller's sick and twisted great replacement agenda.
Representative Walkinshaw is highlighting a very terrifying reality that is happening in these concentration camps, that children are being tortured. They are being fed food with worms in it. They are being given water that is making them sick. This is attorney Eric Lee, who represents some of the people in the detention centers, including children. He said, update from El Gamal family. Yesterday marked 8 months of detention at Dilley, a tragic milestone. The kids ages 5, 9, 16, and 18 have begun skipping meals out of depression. The 9-year-old says she wishes she was dead. Whole family crying on the phone, begging for release. There have been measles outbreaks in these detention centers. There have been COVID-19 outbreaks in these detention centers. Children are having their medicine withheld from them. Children are not receiving proper medical care. And as horrific as this is, the MAGA universe thinks it's funny. This is Jessica Tarlov on Fox News talking about how the food has worms in it, and Greg Gutfeld laughs about it.
First and Fourth Amendment violations, U.S. citizens that are being detained, having shown sometimes proof of citizenship and then sometimes not because you're not supposed to have to. Border Patrol agents pepper spraying Americans, migrant kids in that Dilley detention center. ProPublica went in there, kids getting food with worms in it.
No, not worms!
Are you kidding me? Also, they're being detained. It's court ordered. You can only be in there for 20 days.
What was the
and there
First
are
Amendment
1,000
violation?
kids.
I missed that.
Oh, that you can't
You rattle all this stuff off.
It's not rattling. It's
yes,
the Constitution.
and it's like
Gutfeld doesn't even get a sympathy laugh from the rest of the panel, which honestly he should be used to because nobody ever laughs at his terrible jokes on his terrible late-night comedy show. Anyway, back to the hearing. There was this crazy moment during Citizenship and Immigration Services Director Joseph Edlow's opening statement where he proudly touted that CIS has been investigating immigrants' social media feeds to make sure they're not saying anything anti-American.
A 138% increase over previous years. We conducted thousands of site visits to homes and workplaces and thousands of social media checks to ensure aliens aren't espousing anti-American sentiment.
To make sure that aliens are not espousing anti-American sentiment. So I guess so much for the First Amendment. There was also this really intense exchange between California Representative Lou Correa asking Lyons, the director of ICE, what American citizens are supposed to carry to prove their citizenship. And Lyons keeps interrupting and saying that Americans shouldn't feel the need to carry their passport, which is a pretty insane thing to say considering that people are being kidnapped. American citizens are being kidnapped even though they have their passports on them. Anyway, here's the clip.
Young people asking me, what do I have to carry with me so I won't be deported? Is, Mr. Lyons, carrying a passport, is that enough so they won't be detained or deported in my district?
Sir, an American citizen shouldn't carry or shouldn't feel the need to carry.
Let me tell you what some of your ICE agents have done. They pulled over a gentleman in a pickup truck, showed his passport, they threw it to the side, detained him. What do we have to do to show that we're American citizens?
Sir, no American citizen falls under Title VIII. No American citizen will be arrested for being an American citizen.
But you just said to my colleague that nobody has been fired because of violations of the law for disciplinary actions, yet this is happening in my district. Mr. Lyons, we're a very boring district. We work hard, mind our own business. ICE in our streets now. People are terrorized. American citizens. Number of cases of Americans being detained, being taken in, some being held for 5 days. Sir.
This whole hearing is just these three jerks pretending that we are not seeing what we are seeing. It's them sitting on the panel saying that what we see with our own eyes is not real, that it's all just Democrat rhetoric, and that they're all actually following the law. Eric Swalwell called out that nonsense by asking Director Lyons how people are supposed to know if someone is an ICE agent because they jump out of unmarked vans. And Lyons says that you won't see ICE jumping out of cars because they do targeted operations. But that's nonsense. We've all seen the dozens and dozens and dozens of videos of ICE agents jumping out of cars in parking lots attacking people. And at this point, it honestly does not matter if they're ICE agents or Border Patrol agents. You both wear masks, you're both insane, you're both torturing and terrorizing communities. Anyway, here's Eric Swalwell.
Nights ago, I met with a woman who works as a cashier at a grocery store, and I told her I was coming to see you, Mr. Lyons, and she said, will you ask him, and she didn't want to give her name. She was terrified to give her name. But she said, when I get off my shift around midnight and I walk through the parking lot to my car, she said, if somebody rolls up in an unidentified van and gets out wearing all black and their face is covered and they don't have any identification and they ask me to get into the van, how do I know who they are? How does she know, Mr. Lyons? How does she know if they're an ICE agent or bad guys?
Sir, ICE agents have identifiable placards on their uniforms as well as their badges representative, but you won't see ICE agents rolling through the parking lots and just snatching someone up. ICE does intelligence-driven, targeted enforcement operations.
Well, Mr. Homan and others have said that they target individuals based on the color of their skin and the accents that they speak, and that's why people are running through the fields and factories where they work. Director Lyons, last year...
Sorry, Director Lyons, but there is nothing intelligence-driven about anything that these ICE goons are doing. Swalwell then asks Lyons about comments he made about how he wants to turn immigration enforcement into as something as efficient as Amazon Prime, and he asks Director Lyons how many people Amazon Prime has shot in the streets.
Director Lyons, last year you said in Phoenix at the Border Security Expo that you wanted to see a deportation process that was like, quote, Amazon Prime, but with human beings. Mr. Lyons, how many times has Amazon Prime shot a mom 3 times in the face?
None, sir, but you're also...
It's the square root of 0, that's right.
Yes, sir. Yeah, but if we're going to go down that route of my comment, I did say that comment. However, that comment was taken out. If you go back and watch the video, I did say that we need to be more efficient when it comes to removing individuals from the United States, because ICE doesn't detain punitively. We detain to remove. I don't want to see people in custody. At the end of my statement was, and again, to your point, it was a industry day for AI and efficiencies, but I did say at the end of it, but we deal with human beings, so we can't be like them.
And speaking
That's
of
the key part that you're leaving out.
Well, speaking of human beings, how many times has Amazon Prime shot a nurse 10 times in the back?
None.
How many times has Amazon Prime dragged a woman out of her car by her hair and then dragged her down the street?
None.
How many ICE agents have been fired for their conduct under your leadership?
Sir, I can get you that data. I'll get that back to you.
A lot of the Democrats were asking how many agents have been fired or how many investigations are happening, and every single one of these guys refused to answer. Swalwell then goes on to ask Director Lyons if he will apologize to the families of Renee Good and Alex Preddy for Trump and Kristi Noem calling them domestic terrorists, and he says he can't comment on it because it's an ongoing investigation. But that's insane because there really is no ongoing investigation. We found out this past week that higher-ups at the FBI stopped FBI agents from investigating what happened to Renee Good and Alex Preddy. Federal prosecutors in Minnesota are resigning every single day because DOJ wants to investigate Renee Good and her wife. They have no interest in investigating what the actual ICE and Border Patrol agents did. And they certainly do not care about the horrible things that Donald Trump and Kristi Noem have said about the victims of ICE.
Mr. Lyons, will you apologize to the family of Renee Good for being called a domestic terrorist by the president and his leadership?
No, sir.
Why not?
Sir, I welcome the opportunity to speak to the family in private, but I'm not going to comment on any active investigation.
Is she a domestic terrorist?
Sir, I'm not going to comment on the investigation, and the president and Secretary Noem are elected officials. That's their right to their comments. But as career law enforcement, we won't speak to any.
Do you agree with their comments?
Sir, I'm not going to go ahead and talk about any ongoing investigation.
Will you apologize to the family of Alex Preddy for also being called a domestic terrorist?
Sir, again, I'm not going to speak to any ongoing investigation.
So Donald Trump and Kristi Noem have the right to call the victims of murder from their own federal agents. They have the right to call those victims domestic terrorists, but undocumented immigrants who say anything negative about the United States on social media are flagged as a problem. So I guess the First Amendment only applies to Donald Trump and Kristi Noem. Back to Congressman Lou Correa for a second. He asked Director Lyons if they are putting American citizens in databases, if they are tracking American citizens.
Are you surveilling U.S. citizens today?
No, sir.
Those people protesting, practicing this First Amendment right, photos of them, data taken, they're not being placed in any kind of a database?
There is no database for protesters, sir.
One of your officers in Maine said to one of the individuals protesting, we're going to put your face in a little database. What does that mean? Do you have a little database of Americans?
No, sir, we don't.
Then what do you think your ICE agent was doing to this individual when he said those statements?
I can't speak for that individual, sir, but I can assure you there is no database that's tracking United States citizens.
So either Director Lyons is lying, as his name suggests, or ICE agents are out on the field intimidating and terrifying American citizens and facing no consequences for that. Because this is what Representative Correa was referring to.
Yeah. Look at them. Look at them. The ICC here, guys. Be careful. Be careful. They're over here.
It's not illegal to record.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Why are you taking my information down?
Because we have a nice little database.
Oh, good.
And now you're considered a domestic terrorist. So.
We're videotaping you? Are you crazy?
I bet that ICE agent felt so small when that woman laughed in his face for calling her a domestic terrorist for filming her. Rhode Island Representative Seth Magaziner showed a clip of Border Patrol agents throwing a pepper ball or pepper spraying a family in their car. And he asked Border Patrol Commissioner Scott to comment on it. And of course, he answered like a maniac.
Please.
Yes, sir.
All right, I'd like you to view this video.
This is video of what appears to be pepper spray thrown by a federal agent into Rafael Veraza's car.
You okay, Mama? You okay?
Seconds later, he realized his daughter, 1-year-old Ariana, was in the back seat, also battling the chemicals.
Are you familiar with this incident?
Yes.
Okay. Now, this is a family of United States citizens who were out to get groceries at a Sam's Club in Chicago. When they arrived, they could see that there was a chaotic operation in the parking lot. They turned their vehicle to leave, at which point your agents sprayed pepper spray out of their vehicle and into the driver's side window of the Veraza's family vehicle. Is it proper procedure to aim pepper spray into the window of a moving vehicle?
I'm not familiar. I don't have all the details on this. It's an ongoing
I'm not asking about
investigation, but to answer your specific question,
is it proper procedure?
We try to avoid that. No, it's not.
Try to avoid it. Because you understand it's dangerous, right? Not just for the driver, but for pedestrians, for other people who could be hit by a car if a driver is blinded, right?
I 100% understand that, but you're talking about intentional versus not intentional.
Well, now listen,
I've been in a vehicle
the
in
video,
one of these situations.
Scott, reclaiming my time, from the video, this was clearly intentional, and you know as well as I do that in any other law enforcement agency, if an officer did this, they would be put on leave, investigated, and likely disciplined. Were any of your agents ever investigated or disciplined for this incident?
I'll have to get back to you on this incident. I believe it's still an ongoing investigation, but we have at least...
They're all literally just flailing. At first, he says he's familiar with that clip, and then when he's asked about it, he says, well, I'm not actually familiar with it. I don't know all the details. But yet you somehow feel like you know that this was an unintentional attack on this family. And again, when he's asked if any ICE agent has been held accountable for this, he says, I can't comment on a pending investigation. But is there an actual investigation? Do any of you actually care that an ICE agent attacked a family and pepper sprayed a freaking baby? The answer is no, of course. None of these people care that their agents are out there terrorizing and harming people. Representative Magaziner doubled down on that point by showing a man who was pepper sprayed inches from his face while agents held him down on the ground.
You can see the agent sprayed pepper spray at close range directly into the face of an individual who had already been pinned to the ground by 3 other agents. And there's a picture of this behind me to give you a better view. Is this proper procedure for the use of pepper spray?
I cannot comment on that because you're only showing one piece, and that subject is clearly not
been
compliant.
investigated? But this is not the intended use of this weapon, correct?
The intended use is to try to avoid escalating. It's to de-escalate the situation.
Well, he was already pinned to the ground by 3 other agents. I think he had been de-escalated. Is there any investigation into this agent for doing this?
I'll get back to you. There are several open investigations.
All right.
These directors, these commissioners, they do not care that their agents are acting like Gestapo agents. As New York Representative Dan Goldman points out, they only seem to care about being called Gestapo agents. But he asks Director Lyons what other regimes have sent federal agents into the streets to ask people for their papers, and Representative Lyons does not handle the line of questioning well.
Of course, and there's numerous well-documented instances of people, American citizens, being asked to show and prove their citizenship. Do you know what other regimes in the 20th century required similar proof of citizenship?
Yes, sir.
What?
Sir, there was various nefarious regimes that did that.
Is Nazi Germany one?
Yes, but
Is the Soviet Union one?
I honestly,
sir, I'm asking the questions. Is the Soviet Union one?
Yes, sir, but I totally, this is the wrong type of questioning.
I'll tell you what the wrong type of
actually,
thing
sir,
is. Sir, it's my
Holocaust
time.
Museum
Reclaiming my time, sir.
If you want to go see
Reclaiming my
Nazis,
time,
that's what
Mr.
it is.
Chairman.
It's not the men and women of ICE that are out there doing it every day. So to say that the men and women of ICE are
Mr. Chairman, I'm reclaiming my time. I would like my time back, please. Please give me another 15 seconds because he was unnecessarily speaking. You said in your opening statement that references to ICE as the Gestapo or the secret police encourages threats against ICE agents.
100%.
The problem is you have it backwards, sir. People are simply making valid observations about your tactics, which are un-American and outright fascist. So I have a simple suggestion. If you don't want to be called a fascist regime or secret police, then stop acting like one. But people are simply just observing what they are seeing. And that's why people are making those comments.
Yeah, I don't know how many times it needs to be said. Nobody is calling ICE agents Nazis and the Gestapo because Democratic politicians are telling us to say that. We are calling you Gestapo Nazis because of your actions and your behavior. Representative Goldman goes on to show off his skills as an attorney by basically calling ICE cowards for having to wear masks when he had to face down the actual worst of the worst when he was a criminal prosecutor. He also calls out the fact that there are no investigations going on, despite the fact that they keep saying that. And he calls out their justifications for why they wear masks, because they say it's because violence against ICE agents and Border Patrol agents has increased a bajillion percentage points, but he calls that for the lie that it is. This is another longer clip, but again, it is worth seeing the entire thing in context to allow Dan Goldman to make his case.
Now, I was a prosecutor for 10 years, prosecuted mob bosses, organized crime, violent criminals. The actual worst of the worst. Not a single criminal law enforcement agent that I worked with wore a mask to conceal their identity. But your department, which is a civil law enforcement agency, is defending the use of masks by your agents because of a so-called rise in threats and assaults against your officer. Now, you said in your opening testimony that assaults against ICE officers are up by more than 1,400%, which is now even more than the 1,300% that your gaslighting spokesperson, Tricia from Ohio, has recently been citing. But here's the problem. There are two separate, very detailed, very thorough investigative reports based on your own data that both conclude that assaults against ICE officers are up about 25%, which is far less, of course, than you assert, and far less than you would expect from an agency that has more than doubled its hiring and has an even greater increase in arrests. Now, why is that a problem, Mr. Lyons? It's a problem because the explanation that your agents are wearing masks because of fear of assaults or doxing is outright bogus. You and your untrained, unqualified, unvetted, unidentified agents are intentionally terrorizing our cities and communities all over this country to avoid accountability for their excessive force and their lawless actions. That is why you're wearing masks, so no one can hold you accountable, and you know that the FBI is not going to, because notwithstanding all of the investigations all of you say are going on, the Department of Justice and the FBI has stated they are not investigating those two murders. This is not the America that I know and love. This is not the America my immigrants came to. And it's long past time that you rein in your out-of-control agency and start following the law and the Constitution, and I yield back.
Yeah, those fake percentages that they keep touting about how ICE agents and Border Patrol agents are facing like 10 billion% more assaults starts to make a little bit more sense when you realize that they consider filming them an assault. So what I assume is happening is ICE and Border Patrol agents are getting filmed, and then they are making reports to their higher ups or whatever, saying that we were assaulted 1,000 times on the street because people were filming us. Either way, they are literally cowards. Dan Goldman is right. He had to face down actual violent, horrible criminals, and he didn't wear a mask. But these guys who are breaking into people's homes and tear gassing outside of schools, they feel like they need to wear masks because they're afraid. They're afraid of what the Americans are going to do to them. Pathetic losers. Illinois Rep. Delia Ramirez reads Lyons and Scott for filth and says that they are committing great evils and are breaking the law and violating the Constitution. She compares them to the Klan and the Slave Patrol.
5 minutes of questions.
Thank you, Chairman. My mother, a Guatemalan immigrant and an American, taught me that I have the responsibility to look evil in the eye and to fight it back. Mr. Lyons, Mr. Scott, Mr. Edlow, you have used your power to perpetrate great evil. And it's about time you answer this committee for the lawlessness that you've empowered and defended in your testimony. Mr. Lyons, I want to start with you. And I want to talk about ICE. Because under your leadership, ICE has shot and killed Silverio Villegas Gonzalez and Renee Good, violated nearly 100 court orders in January alone. You've used banned chokeholds in more than 40 cases, engaged in warrantless arrests despite of a consent decree, and you used children as bait to put 3,800 children in detention. You created traps for people at immigration court who were following the law and doing it the legal way. And you broke the law by entering into people's homes without a judicial warrant in violation of the Fourth Amendment. Now, let's talk about you, Mr. Scott, and CBP next. Under your leadership, CBP has attempted to execute Marimar Martinez, shooting her 5 times and not releasing the footage that you should release so that we can see the evidence. Murdered Alex Preddy, used chemical agents dozens of times in Chicago after a judge ordered you to stop, conducted warrantless surveillance and racial profiling, and acted with total disrespect and disregard for the law while engaging in roving patrols, plate switching, dangerous traffic maneuvers, and observer intimidation. Again, criminals act with that total disregard for the law, and we continue to see it. You would both have us talk about respect for your mission and your agents, but your agencies are unaccountable, paramilitary forces, and I have just as much respect for you as I do for the last white men who put on masks to terrorize communities of color. I have no respect for the inheritors of the Klan Hood and the Slave Patrol.
Congresswoman Ramirez calls it out for exactly what it is, fascism. She calls out their lies and their crimes and even compares them to the KKK. She also reminded these people that they will be held accountable, that they will not always be in power.
Weapons they would wield against us. So Mr. Lyons, Mr. Scott, Mr. Edlow, you have weaponized the government. You have supported a fascist enterprise at the expense of our constitutional rights. You have violated the law. But let me remind you, you will not always be in power. One day, you will be held accountable for your role in this dark moment in America and our nation's history. I guarantee it. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I yield back.
Yeah, she calls it exactly what it is, fascism. New York Representative Timothy Kennedy then comes out and calls Donald Trump a snake oil salesman. He calls him a liar, and he also calls out all this crap.
Kristi Noem, Stephen Miller, and you, Mr. Lyons, have appointed yourselves judge, jury, and executioner, allowing American citizens to be gunned down in our streets with impunity. We all know the president is a liar. He's sold snake oil his entire life, but he can't tell us and the American people that we did not see with our own eyes what we saw in that video. 2 Americans shot dead in cold blood. The American people aren't stupid like he thinks we are.
Kennedy then asks Lyons if he will commit to making the ICE agents wear standard uniforms and not wear masks anymore, and of course Lyons says no.
Mr. Lyons, in America, we shouldn't have secret police. We shouldn't have masked government agents executing citizens in the streets. The Constitution does not give your agency the right to hide their faces while they kill Americans. Will you commit, yes or no, to immediately unmasking every agent conducting immigration enforcement and requiring them to wear standard uniforms with identifiable badges?
No.
Well, that's a sad response. Your answer is completely unacceptable. People who are proud of what they do aren't hiding their identity. We're a nation of laws, and you, your boss, Secretary Noem, and Donald Trump are not above the law. The American people are angry, and they're demanding accountability and justice from those giving the orders.
Yeah, he's right. We shouldn't have secret police. And yeah, the people are angry. After Kennedy's 5 minutes, Republican chair of the committee, Andrew Garbarino from New York, he banged his gavel like a little tough guy just to say that it's against the rules to offend the president. I don't really know what Kennedy said that could have offended Donald Trump, maybe calling him a snake oil salesman, I guess. But Donald Trump is a snake oil salesman. Like any product you can think of, that man sells. And half the time when he sells products, the product doesn't even exist. Like people who bought the Trump phone have still not received it. The Trump Bible, if you were lucky enough to actually get one, some people said that the pages were wet. So yeah, I don't know. He didn't say anything wrong. But anyway, here's what the chair said.
American citizens
Gentleman's time is expired.
The American people deserve
Gentleman's time is expired. Members are reminded that we must adhere to established standards of decorum in debate. It is a clear violation of the rules of the House to make statements that might be personally offensive to the President or the Vice President of the United States. I now recognize...
That's a good little MAGA cultist standing up for Daddy Trump. Gotta make sure nobody hurts Trump's or J.D. Vance's feelings. We can't have that, now can we? Now I'm going to end this video with New Jersey Representative LaMonica McIver because she is amazing. She asked ICE Director Lyons to his face if he believes that he's going to hell, and all hell broke loose in the chambers.
That you may be able to answer. Mr. Lyons, do you consider yourself a religious man?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, yes. Okay, well, how do you think Judgment Day will work for you with so much blood on your hands?
I'm not going to entertain that question.
Oh, okay, of course not. Do you think you're going to hell, Mr. Lyons?
I'm not going to entertain.
Of course not. How many government...
The gentlelady will suspend. The gentlelady will suspend.
Chairman?
A gentlelady will suspend. As I said, the issues we're debating here are important to ones that members feel deeply about.
Thank you.
While vigorous disagreement is part of the legislative process, members are reminded that we must adhere to established standards of decorum in debate. The witnesses are here voluntarily, and I will continue to remind members that while oversight is important, aggressively attacking those witnesses personally is inappropriate and not in keeping with the traditions of our committee.
Mr. Chairman, I'm just asking a question. You guys are always talking about religion here in the Bible. I mean, it's okay for me to ask a question, right? But let me...
I love that line of questioning. She's like, you guys are always talking about the Bible and religion, so why can't I ask a question? And it's a damn good question. Do you guys genuinely think that you're going to get into heaven because Donald Trump doesn't think he's going to heaven? He literally says it all the time. At the National Prayer Breakfast, he says that he hangs out with Mike Johnson because Mike Johnson's going to heaven and he might win some points for being around him. But that's not really how heaven works, is it? But my goodness, he took such offense to that question, when in reality, any good, self-aware Christian knows the answer to that question for themselves, or at least they have an idea. But this man, those men, the men that they employ, I don't think they know the answer to that question. Because like Representative Ramirez said, they have committed great evils. Now, the best part of that clip is Republicans cannot handle that it is a black woman questioning whether a white man is going to go to heaven or not. And Allie Beth Stuckey, who is a American Christian conservative radio host or whatever, she works for the Blaze Media, she tweeted out this nonsense. Imagine the outrage if a white Republican asking this with a Southern accent asked a black woman if she were going to hell. Here's the thing though, Allie Beth Stuckey, which is a ridiculous name. You guys, white Republican Christians, you don't ask if we think we're going to hell. You guys literally put on massive events to talk about how liberals are demons. Secretary of Defense Pete Hegseth wrote an entire book about how we are in a holy war, and the leftist Democrats, whatever, they are literally demons. Like, that's you guys. So forgive me if I don't feel bad when somebody is having a theological discussion with somebody who has committed every single sin. Now, why don't you go cry yourself a river and go to a Turning Point event and talk about how the Crusades were great and how we need to bring that back? Because that's literally your guys' entire thing. Anyway, I would like to give Congresswoman McIver here the last word, because in case it got lost in this entire video, this hearing was an attempt from these department heads to basically beg Congress to continue to fund them, because we are looming towards another government shutdown, partially because some of the funding has gone through, but Democrats don't want to fund DHS. And Congresswoman McIver here asks an incredible line of questioning in regards to DHS funding and ends it with a call to abolish ICE. So with that, I'm going to let her finish it. And as always, thank you so much for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments, and stay safe out there, folks.
Thank you. I appreciate you. How many government agencies, Mr. Lyons, are you aware of that routinely kill American citizens and you still get funding?
Ma'am, I'm not going to entertain that.
Of course you're not. Exactly. Once again, questions that you cannot answer. And that is exactly why, Mr. Chairman, and to this committee, to my colleagues, and to my colleagues across the aisle, this is exactly why we should not be funding this agency. The people are watching you. They are watching you. And this is why we need to abolish ICE. With that, I yield back. Thank you kindly.